Hello and welcome. I would like to begin by asking you to jog your memory a few years into the last decade. If you were an obsessive consumer of fiction back then, like I perennially am, there's a very high chance you may have been obsessed with a certain piece of entertainment. And if you weren't, you probably couldn't escape hearing about it anyways from your friend and family who were. A dark story about war and politics, set in a fantastical world with mythical monsters where no character is safe from a sudden and shocking demise. Yes, I am indeed talking about Game of Thrones, one of the biggest television shows of the modern era. If you were like me, you probably spent most of your 2010s marveling at the scope and scale of the story and how it managed to surprise you with every single twist. And if you were like me, you're also probably still trying to come to terms with the biggest twist Thrones ever pulled, making its globally anticipated ending one of the worst final seasons of all time. Well, what if I told you today that there exists a similar, yet arguably superior story? One that has been around for far longer than Game of Thrones and is so gosh darn good, it currently holds the top 7 out of 20 spots in IMDb's ranking of the highest rated television episodes of all time. A record never attained or successfully maintained by any other television show in history. Yes, that show exists, and it's called Attack on Titan. And it is, in my humble opinion, a modern masterpiece. A benchmark that Game of Thrones was primed to achieve, but failed to do so. For a lot of you who might be unfamiliar with this show, Attack on Titan is based off of a graphic novel series of the same name, written and illustrated by Japanese creator Hajime Isayama. The show tells the story of the last remaining pocket of humanity forced to sequester themselves behind 3 gigantic walls, namely Wall Maria, Wall Rose, and Wall Sina, in a desperate bid to avoid the wrath of a species of grotesquely fleshy, mindless, and man-eating giants called Titans. These mythological beings mysteriously appeared long ago, driving humanity into a corner, forcing us to sacrifice our lands and freedom in order to live like cattle in a pen, in fear and awe of these nigh invincible forces of nature. The first episode begins with the outermost wall, Maria, being kicked down and destroyed by a new, never before seen type of Titan, the Colossal Titan, a beast of unimaginable size, twice as tall as the walls themselves, seemingly intelligent enough to command all other Titans. As he watches his entire family get eaten alive and his hometown crushed to rubble in the midst of this tragedy, our child protagonist Eren Yeager, along with his adoptive sister Mikasa Ackerman and only surviving friend Armin, makes the rage-filled promise of annihilating every last Titan and securing freedom for humanity, once and for all. As the show progresses and years pass, Eren and his allies join a team of elite paramilitary officials known as the Survey Corps, a scrappy and undersupplied group of soldiers forced to undertake the highly dangerous and seemingly futile mission of scouting the land beyond the walls and protecting refugees from Maria through the power of the Titans. As Eren and the soldiers around him get to know one another, forming deep connections, romances, friendships, and alliances, the ever-persistent threat in their world causes them to make unimaginable sacrifices and perform many morally dubious acts of violence for the sake of their collective survival. You can probably guess how this plot element makes for some phenomenally visceral battle sequences. But fear not, for while your favorite characters might indeed end up dying horrible deaths or being irreversibly traumatized, they'll be doing it all to the backdrop of an absolutely killer soundtrack by legendary Japanese composer Hiroyuki Sawano, who somehow managed to blend every single language from German to Japanese to English and even Punjabi. Yes, you heard me right, Punjabi, to score every single scene with such bombast it could very well make you literally want to jump off your armchair and don the Scout's special Titan killing equipment, only to leap into battle and yell at your comrades to dedicate their hearts. But of course, this human versus Titan narrative feels too simple to fit the description of anything close to a modern masterpiece, now does it? Agreed. The story is far denser than that, yet I am unable to be entirely truthful about many of its hidden elements in order to preserve the insanity that is its roller coaster experience. Because you see, while this story does begin in a fairly generic spot, with characters sticking to a set of familiar tropes and known guidelines, it's all an elaborate ruse to reel you in into feeling the comfort of the familiar tropes, in order to make you, the viewer, feel like you know or can guess every little thing the story has to offer, only for Attack on Titan to work its true magic and stump you so hard you'll be left yelling, "How the hell did I not see that coming?" at your screen. And that's because, just like any expertly crafted endeavor in intrigue, each episode sneaks in multiple scenes where every clue and little detail you need to deduce the show's grander mysteries is placed right in front of you. Yet the breakneck speed of the story, the incredible music, intense action, and absolutely eye-popping craftsmanship showcased in every meticulously hand-drawn frame of its animation leaves you too busy gasping for air from the sheer sensory assault to foresee any of the upcoming bombshells that are dropped, which truly end up defining the term changing the game when it comes to the art of plotting an intricate yarn. For example, in Season 2, long before a character's strange and traumatic past is revealed, you see them read the label on a crusty old can of food out loud while foraging for supplies in a military bunker. A few scenes later, as the same soldiers stockpile supplies and hurriedly prepare to escape from an army of titans, a different character is unable to read that very same label on that very same can because, according to them, the language is too ancient to decipher. While played like a throwaway, darkly comedic, and almost background moment, it drops a pretty major hint as to how unnaturally long a character has survived for and what their relationship between humans and titans actually looks like. Along with peeling back the curtain on many of its characters' dark secrets, the show gradually eases you into understanding the grim yet relevant subject matter it chooses to dissect. Just when you begin to accept that the zombie-like titans are nothing more than cool monsters used solely for spectacle and gore, the narrative proceeds to make it very clear that this is, in actuality, a deeply introspective piece about war, trauma, perspective, the desire for freedom, propaganda, indoctrination, and the unending cycle of violence and guilt, with every supernatural element incorporated from the massive walls to the towering titans, gradually revealing themselves as blatant allegories for grave concepts like nuclear warfare, genocide, aggressive nationalism, and racism. It is only disguised as an action adventure to bait as many people as it can into experiencing something truly special, something that has the potential to define not only its medium, but storytelling as a whole for generations to come. Don't get me wrong, Attack on Titan doesn't lie to you in order to get you to experience it. It just treats you like it treats its own characters, as excited, wide-eyed individuals with high expectations, but only half the perspective that is needed to uncover the truth and survive in their cruel yet beautiful landscape. It is a show that begins with a simple premise: noble, optimistic, and young soldiers having to save humanity from seemingly undefeatable forces of oppression and brutality. But then it proceeds to put its characters and audience through earth-shattering revelations about each other and the genuine truth of their world, breaking down everything they believed in, everything they held dear, forcing them into harshly confronting the reality of a destructive conflict, where there can be no true winner, with the only possible victory being depressingly hollow, built off of unspeakable atrocities, terrifying lies, and needless sacrifices. And now, after 9 years of hard work along with 3 seasons of expert build-up and immense payoff, high on the heels of multiple records crushed under its titanic footsteps, pun intended, Attack on Titan is all set to debut its final season and conclude the grand tapestry that is its narrative, by putting the very same initial goal of saving humanity once again in front of its now older, warier, and still surviving cast, whilst offering them a pivotal choice: either band together and fight against forces beyond your comprehension to secure an idealized version of a world you may never live to see the fruits of, or realize that humanity can never truly change in their desire for power and superiority, and that the only acceptable thing to do in the face of such an unwinnable conflict is to act selfishly and protect everything you hold dear. And the best part is that just like every moment, every character, every decision, every battle, every betrayal, and every sacrifice that is made in this epic struggle, it is all justified, and the choices that these characters make will finally give them the one thing that they've valued the most: their freedom.